So yeah, I'm just trying to evolve myself with like getting involved more.
Where do you live now?
I live across the street. I moved to downtown Mesa
really?
this spring. I lived behind Mountain View
Okay.
for the last 12 years.
Okay.
And after I got divorced in 2018, and I just didn't want to like change my kid's life too much, and they go to Hale. So I just got to a point where I was like, I've been single for a while. It's an opportunity where I want to like just put all my money towards my business, towards investments, and change, and not like have to take care of a huge property.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I moved down here, and now I'm like really getting more involved with the city.
It's good for you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I'm just kind of.
We need more, and I tell everyone, we need more of your generation to get very involved in the city.
Yeah.
Because this is my last gig. You know, I'm on the home stretch.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people, one reason I decided to get back involved is like, I think I view myself as doing stuff, but also transitional.
Yeah.
To take people from you, like you, my son Ryan, and others, Trent, and others who've invested here, and say, okay, here it's yours.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Right.
Do something. Make a difference.
Right.
Build upon what we started.
Yeah.
Make it better.
I love that. Yeah. So I think that just trying to bring more attention to that, and like getting involved in the community, I really, really see the potential, the interior design in me. I just like.
Did you get that from your mom then? Did you
I don't know.
Or just separate?
I don't know.
I mean, was she real active? She went to interior design.
No, she didn't do that. She just Mesa Public Schools.
Okay.
She works for the city doing all special needs.
Okay.
So she's very involved in like the downtown Mesa like events, like Santa. She's the one that hands you the candy cane and stuff. So
very cool.
She's very involved with the special needs.
Okay.
Yeah. But like growing up in Lehi, I remember sitting at the light on Horn and McKellips and just looking at that shopping center, which still I'm looking at it. I'm going to own that one day. Just like, what could that be? Like, there's so much potential. Why is it, just
the one there on the southwest side, the little one. Okay.
Yeah, which I'm like, is there money laundering there? Like, what is happening? How is
there's
that?
Laundry. Oh, the laundry's right next to it, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, how is that? Any of it's in business, but there's businesses there. So.
I wondered that.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
And there is so much potential with like our kids, my age and your kids. Like, everyone's coming back to the areas, and
that's what's fun to watch.
But we still have to go like to downtown Gilbert or to, Scottsdale to get the good food and different entertainment.
Things are changing.
Yeah.
Things are changing. That's what we want to do here. Is not as fast as people would want.
Yeah.
But it's and the city has to do more.
Yeah.
To build this place up.
Right.
To make downtown, because the downtown, people will ask me all the time, why downtown? I mean, this is a big city, because people identify the city based on their downtown.
Right.
Like, you look at Gilbert. Gilbert is a bland, very conservative.
Yeah.
But people in Scottsdale think, oh, Gilbert's a great hip place, right? Because they go to the 2 blocks in downtown.
The 2 blocks, the tiniest
and it's
little...
it's got a vibe.
Yeah.
Downtown Mesa has a vibe, but it's not a very well-known vibe.
No.
And you come here any night almost and see the even in it's hot, the patio is still packed.
I know. Yeah.
So there's a vibe here. It's just not well known, and that's and it hasn't grown to the point where people outside this, even inside the city, say downtown Mesa is worth going to. I come down here. My wife comes down here all the time.
Yeah, I ran into you the other week.
Yeah, that's right. Because there are things, I know it, and there's things worth coming down for.
Yeah.
Most people, when they say, oh, downtown Mesa's a dive, when was the last time you were there? Oh, God, it's been years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Let's go down and do it. Have you ever been here? No. Ever been here? No. Ever been here? No.
Yeah.
No. You ask them all the places and they've never experienced it.
Right. So. I know it's one of my favorite things is to invite, now that I'm closer, invite someone down here either for work or just a friend, and every single time the feedback is,
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
See, that's our problem. They had no idea.
Right.
So we've got to do a better job of communicating that and marketing downtown Mesa.
Right. So when you say the city needs to do a better job, like what does that mean, or how do you envision
downtown's an interesting conglomeration of groups and special interests. You have the property owners, you have the DMA, Downtown Mesa Association, you have Visit Mesa, you have and then you have the Trents of the world, the TJ of the world who are investing here. and they never seem to really come together to create something.
Yeah.
But the largest landowner in downtown Mesa, and the one with the most economic is the city.
Mm-hmm.
We own more land. We supply all utilities to every property in downtown.
Okay.
So we have, in addition to the recognition and people's perception of Mesa, our city hall is here. So we have a vested interest, and yet the city for a long time has sort of been we will support, we will do this, but they haven't been out on the forefront. And so marketing and things like that has really been jumbled for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Events, when I first became mayor, the city would have nothing to do with events in downtown.
Really?
They even didn't sponsor the parades. They pulled back from the two biggest parades down
Yeah.
there. We changed that.
Yeah.
But they would not have anything to do with the events. They didn't want to step on toes. They didn't want to do this. They didn't want to do that. And so they've never really taken the kind of lead that I think they should. Now we've developed to the point where I think the city can take a more active role in bringing people together, funding activities, flat out marketing about downtown, and do things that they haven't really done in the past. Or do it at a higher level than they've done in the past.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I see it because I'm trying to get more involved, but from outside, people are like, oh, it's slow going, but it's actually like, once Chupa went in, we are at Chupacabra, thanks to Trent and Eric, the owners. I feel like it brought a whole new life.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it, and you look at the things that have opened, things that have been here for a while, but then you look at the things that have opened just in the last 1, 2, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Chupacabra was a big one. Their sister, Fox.
Yeah.
You have. I had never been to Rebel Lounge till a while ago. I'd never been to. I'd never been to the Speakeasy.
I know, Alchemy.
Alchemy 48.
Yeah.
I'd never been to a lot of these places. 12 West and all these. There's a lot going on here. The Tacos Chiwas in downtown Mesa is their busiest store in all the valley.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot. And of course you have Worth Takeaway and Gus's and things like that that are just off the charts amazing. And there's a lot to do down here. It's just that we haven't really created that same vibe. Yeah. It's harder too, because downtown Gilbert, as we said, is 2 blocks. Right. You can literally walk from one end to the other in less than 3 minutes. Right. Downtown Mesa is half mile.
It's huge.
There's actually more restaurants in downtown Mesa than there are in downtown Gilbert.
Yeah, it's because it's so huge.
I tell people that, and I don't believe it. There's like 36 eating establishments in the downtown area. Yeah. They're just spread out. Yeah. And you have the traditional Main Street, which creates both opportunities. We're in a building that is an older building. It's very cool. So cute. I love how they rehab this. But on the other hand, these were built for a different purpose. Yeah. They're old. Right. They have a lot of it costs money to rehab and to rebuild.
Bring kitchens in there.
Yeah, it's more difficult than if you were in a strip center. Yeah. Out on the edge of town. Right. Where it was an empty gray shell. Yeah. And you could plan it. No, here you have to work with what you got. Right. And it doesn't always fit well. Yeah. So it takes a certain individual who loves this kind of work, who's creative, who's a little bit off. Because they are creative. Yeah. And I love that about them. Yeah. And they're risk takers. Yeah. They want to do something different. Yep. And that's the kind that we've attracted down here, and that's the kind that we can build on in downtown Mesa. And I want to help them succeed.
How do you think there's like ways to give incentives because of all these like historic buildings, and there is so much work, but if we want like I don't know. I don't want to throw a Sam Fox name out there, but you know what I mean. Like
you want something like that.
Yeah.
I think you're limited as to what you can do because the city doesn't own the building. There are other things that create, but the city should treat these differently. First of all, like I said, we have a vested interest in the success of downtown. Right. The secondly is that we have one set of rules that apply throughout the city, and believe me, building and development here is very different than building and development in the Eastmark area. Okay. Because of the challenges of utilities, the challenges of the buildings, the challenges of complying with codes. Yeah. And we need to treat those differently. We can't think that a property in downtown Mesa or any old building is the same as a brand new strip center that was built in a cotton field. Yeah. They're very different. They have very different challenges. And we need to incentivize the development of these older buildings because the older buildings become blight. When they become blight, it attracts all the bad elements. Yeah. And we as a community have a vested interest in not having those bad elements. First of all, the quality of life goes down, safety goes down, and our costs go up.
Yeah.
Because you look at blighted properties in the city, they have a higher incidence of police calls, fire calls, all the different public safety
Right.
needs are disproportionately toward blighted areas.
Yeah.
So the idea is, regardless of the income level, if it's not blighted, it just performs better. It's a better part of the community. So we
Right.
do have a vested interest in making sure these older buildings, which are harder to develop, that they have an equal chance to develop. And the city can play a role in that. There's tools we have, and I haven't quite defined that, and I will when I get back in office as
Okay.
to what those can be.
Yeah.
Things such as building fees and other things that we can do to lessen the burden. If we provide the utility here, work with them better
Yeah.
on making sure that when we ask them to do something that creates an additional cost,
Right.
that we help bear that cost. We ask them to do it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
There's a couple of buildings down here where people said, I came in and at the end, the Mesa Utilities wanted me to change the panel
Yeah.
to meet their needs. Well, it cost me
So
$30,000.
expensive. Yeah.
And I go, well, if I'm going to ask them to do that, then
Yeah.
I should bear the part of
Right.
the economic cost. Things like that.
Yeah, the pros I think outweigh the cons
They
if
do.
you could actually get over that hump. Yeah, and I think they're showing,
Well, and what people don't see, and
Mm-hmm.
when I said there's sort of a sense of cool that creates this perception of the city. Believe it or not, when people come from out of town, people with money, people who want to invest, and they do come to a downtown, like they come to meet in City Hall, they judge the city based on what they experience,
yeah,
right or wrong.
right.
And so, having a vibrant, happening downtown actually is the biggest billboard for the city for people who aren't familiar with Mesa,
Yeah.
but they want to invest in Mesa because they come in and say, "Wow, this city is really going. Is
Yeah.
going." And you can see that around the country where you have vibrant, fun downtowns. It gets people excited to invest in the community,
Right.
and we all benefit from it.
Yeah. I love that we have Mesa's so big that we have so many pockets where you can go 10 minutes, if that, to where I grew up and have the country in Lehi,
Yeah.
right? And then newer builds near even Lehi Crossing. You mentioned Eastmark. There's just so many cool pockets. I feel like there's something that the city, maybe the potential of almost branding certain areas.
We do brand them. We have names for them.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like, and I started to explore this last time I was in office, the village concept. Phoenix uses this.
Okay.
And I really like that because we really are, you mentioned the different areas. We
Yeah.
really are 5-6 cities within a city.
Yeah.
We cover over 140 square miles. But the different parts of the city have different histories. You look at the history of Lehi. You look at the history of where I was, I grew up sort of West Mesa, and more near the downtown and then into the Riverview area.
Okay.
You look at the history of the Fiesta District, Dobson Ranch and all
Yeah.
that, which grew up
So different.
completely different because it was the first master plan community
Yeah.
and the first time that people in Mesa lived in Mesa who came from outside of Mesa. That was the first large community. Then you start looking at the desert, the middle, what I call the citrus area.
Yeah, the groves.
Which would include the Lehi, the old agricultural areas.
Yeah.
They have a different vibe. There's more of a ranch, a rural type feel. Go up to desert uplands where I moved to, downsized, which is up Las Sendas, Red Mountain Ranch. Up that area. I can't
The
tell
river.
you how I can't tell you how different the culture is up there than what I moved from,
Yeah.
down in the middle of the orange groves. You end up in the Gateway area. Eastmark,
Yeah.
Augusta Ranch, Gateway Airport,
Is booming.
brand new, booming.
Yeah.
Every part of the city has its own needs, its own history, and its own vibe
Yeah.
to it. And there's no reason why they can't all grow in their own familiar way. I'm really excited about the Fiesta District with Fiesta Mall now being
Yeah.
just basically a mountain of dirt.
So crazy to drive by.
It's weird. It's
Yeah.
weird to see it. The place that was such the centerpiece of our lives, and now it's going to be something new. It's going to have a rebirth,
Yeah.
and it's going to be the centerpiece of that area again.
What are they doing there?
Well, I don't know the specifics. I've met with the developers a couple of times, and they're looking for a mixed use thing, commercial, retail, office, and residences. A lot of residences in there
Yeah.
to create sort of a mini urban type of a village within a village.
Okay.
And I'm excited for that, because what you find is that when you have new or innovative things come in, it encourages other development in the area.
Yeah.
It attracts people.
Right.
And That's happened down in the Riverview area with Sloan Park, the Cub Stadium, and,
Yeah.
and the other things. It'll happen. It'll happen in downtown. It's happening in downtown. You
Yeah.
moved back here.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have found any reason to move here 5-10 years ago.
No.
Okay,
No.
so and we went 30 years in downtown Mesa without issuing a new home building permit. 30 years.
That's crazy.
And in the last 10 years, there's been over 1,000 housing units, over $700 million of investment.
Okay.
And that's relatively new. That's going to change
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
in a good way,
Yeah.
how downtown is.
Do you see though in downtown? So now that I'm down here, I I'm literally breathing it, right? I have like boots on the ground, and I kept joking with some of the City of Mesa, like Jeffrey Robbins and stuff. I'm like, can I be an influencer for downtown Mesa? Because like I'm down here and I'm seeing like, who my literal neighbors. I could count the homeless people. Like I know, the one thing that I'm like, it would be so amazing on Main Street in here is having like, not apartments, but like that you could actually own or with like your patios overlooking downtown Mesa, like
Love
that
it.
real city feel.
Would love it.
And they do have like the eco over here, but it's a little off of Main Street, but like that would just be for multi.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the old Brown and Brown property, and I have to say, I'm glad someone did that. I wish they would have been a little bit more urbanistic.
Yeah.
And there are apartments. I really like what they did down by the temple.
Yes.
The LDS Church.
They need to
did there.
bring it over.
The Groves, the units that front Main Street have big balconies.
Yep.
And they not only did that, but they took the different segments. There's like 4 different housing types.
Yeah, it's really good. The townhomes.
The townhomes.
We need that right
they
here.
took some of the old Victorian houses and rehabbed them.
So cute.
And then there was a couple of Victorian homes that were in bad disrepair. They torn down and they rebuilt sort of a replica of
Yeah.
it. And so that whole neighborhood has a completely different.
Yeah. And they
feel to it.
tree lined
They
it.
put trees in there. They restored some of the old. If you look at the old pictures, First Avenue had always had a landscape median, just like Robeson does and McDonald does here in South Down or North Downtown, and the church paid to put that in and maintain it. So there's a lot of good fun stuff going on here.
Right.
And then
It's almost like it needs to all just connect.
well, that's one of the challenges of
'cause
downtown
it's
Mesa
so-
is because it's so long. I mean, downtown Mesa is half mile to a mile long.
Yeah.
It's a long,
Right.
lot of space.
Yeah.
It never was crunched into one area.
Which is good.
That's how it developed.
Yeah.
From 100 plus years ago.
Yeah.
120, 30 years ago when downtown really became an item around the turn of the 20th century when the Theodore Roosevelt Dam was built. Because
Okay.
downtown Mesa was the staging area. And that
Okay.
was in 1909, 1910.
Okay.
The railroad came here, and they would bring all the things in here. They would unload them and then put them on mule trains and horse trains and other things.
Yeah.
And they'd take them up Apache Trail, up through the whole thing to the Roosevelt Dam. So Mesa was an economic hub, and that's when the downtown and all the center really exploded. We became a regional. But that's how it developed. Had the main highway coming through here, so it didn't develop like a normal New England town, Midwestern town type of downtown,
Right.
which was off the beaten path, because we weren't really a farm center. Farming was a big thing, but we were also a commercial center because of the Roosevelt Dam construction, and that made this city the economic center for literally all of eastern and northeastern Arizona. And it was like that until the freeways got done, and until actually the biggest event that changed downtown Mesa. There's 3 big events: Fiesta Mall,
Okay.
Superstition Freeway,
Oh.
which shifted all the traffic, and Walmart. Believe it or not.
Walmart.
Because it used to be that everybody in eastern Arizona, everyone from Safford, Thatcher, the Gila Valley, up through Snowflake, Sholo, Pine Top, and clear up into the reservation, Winslow, Holbrook,
Yeah.
they would come to Mesa
Okay.
for school shopping, for Christmas shopping, for everything. I mean, they would make journeys to come,
Yeah.
if they were LDS, to the temple, but
Yeah.
even if they weren't, this is where they came.
Yeah.
And you noticed a big shift when the freeway got open. They did that even after Fiesta Mall opened.
Yeah.
They'd come especially after Fiesta Mall opened. The big changes came in the early to mid 90s when all of a sudden Walmart opened up in Winslow and opened up in Sholo.
Oh.
And no longer did they have to come into
Yeah.
Mesa because they could basically get whatever they wanted.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a change that people don't really, I like to study these things.
Yeah.
The impact that Walmart had on cities like Mesa and other things, because it took a regional economy, and now the center of the economy was the Walmart, and then in Sholo, then the Home Depot came in, then the Lowe's came in, and all of a sudden you had these big boxes in places that you would have never imagined them.
Yeah.
Early on,
right?
Even 10 years before that. But Walmart grew up as a rural retailer from Bentonville, Arkansas, and it made its business setting up stores outside of the cities. It didn't come into the cities till much later. I mean, there were Walmarts in rural Arizona before there was one in Mesa.
That's crazy.
And that changed the regional, and it changed Mesa. It changed downtown Mesa big time.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
well, I feel like whatever's coming down here, it's going to be big.
It will, and that's the one thing, is that now we're over the Walmart thing, and we want to go back and recreate these gathering places.
Yeah.
Because we realize that just going to a big box, just shopping a catalog from Amazon, that doesn't create the kind of experience we want. So that's why downtowns are seeing a rebirth. Yeah. Because it's a place where people come, and what I love about downtown Mesa is there's no chain store in downtown Mesa. Mm-hmm. They're entrepreneurs. They're people who've done things, mom and pop. They've done things that are unique, and unique is cool. They're invested. Which means, and I want that to continue, because I want people to believe that I can go to downtown Mesa and have a unique experience. Mm-hmm. You know, I can go any place and go to McDonald's. Yeah. But I can't go to a you can't go to and the green belt over here that I discovered. So go to Novel Ice Cream that's open until 2 a.m. By the way, I was like, that is. I mean, there's another Novel, but it's still not a chain.
Yeah, but you can jump from like Novel to the coffee shop to the museum.
It's a unique experience that you can't replicate, and you certainly can't get that same feel in a strip center. Yeah, no. It's just not. You can get good food, you can get that, but downtown should be a unique experience and should be a place where people say, I want to go to downtown Mesa. It's worth driving there because it's different and because I'll enjoy it. Right. And you're not just going to come down for one thing. Right. You're most likely going to jump around, and you have the unique, charming, historic buildings, right? All this is developing inside the historic footprint of the traditional Main Street USA, which is 100 years old. Yeah. That's cool. It's so cool. Okay, well, let's go back to, you were saying why you like to study like the Walmart thing. Your history, you were a builder? I was a home builder. I'm a CPA and attorney by training. Okay. And I got into home building in the mid-90s, sort of by accident. I actually decided to go back to law school. Okay. When I was 37 years old. I needed a career change. That is amazing, 37. Yeah. I was working as a CPA, a business consultant, and I just said, I need a career change. I don't need a job change, I need a career change. And I noticed that during the recession of the late 80s, that I had developed an expertise in tax and in real estate, and all the lawyers were getting paid, I wasn't getting paid. Oh, okay. And I said, okay, why are they getting paid and I'm not? Yeah, I'm doing a lot of work here. I'm in there in the room with them, and it's just not working. Yeah. So I decided I needed to go. When I got out of undergrad, 15 years before that, I had gotten admitted to law school at ASU, and for a variety of reasons didn't go. I went in and did the CPA thing. So big career change, sat down with my wife. We said, this is going to be hard because you got to go to school full time. We're going to be stretched for income. Yeah. And I went back to law school. Was she working at the time, or just she was mom? Not. She was a mom, but she went and got her nail tech license, and we set up a little nail room in our garage for her, built that out. Love it. And so she had a very thriving nail business. Yeah. And I went to law school full time, but I still worked. Yeah. Worked full time, went to school full time, and through that I kept some clients, and one of my clients was involved in real estate. He said, listen, I really need you to work here full time. I go, well, I'm going to law school. And we were struggling financially. And he said, what would it take for me to get you to work? I was working with him 2 days a week. He wanted me to work full time. I said, well, I need time to go to class. I'm now starting my third year, so I have a lot more flexibility. But I need you to pay tuition, because I literally didn't have the money to pay tuition. Now, mind you, tuition for law school at that time at ASU was like $895 a semester. Yeah, it was amazing. And I didn't have that much money for that and books. Sometimes the books cost me more than tuition. And because how many kids do you have? At this time, I had 3 kids. Yeah. 3 kids and a mortgage and everything. So Yeah, my oldest was 13. My youngest, let me see, Megan would have been about 7 or 8. So I went back to school, and in my 3rd year, he said, yeah, I'll pay for it. Let's do it. And he was in real estate, a variety of events.
Okay.
So I went on as his CFO. He had a lot of investors from Europe and everything, and in a series of events, I ended up as a CEO.
Amazing.
And ran that company. We had just started building homes, and before I knew it, I was in home building. I finished law school, never practiced law, but used it a lot in my business.
Yeah.
And 5 years later, I bought the business from the investors. And 3 years after that, I had a New York Stock Exchange company out of New Jersey come in and offer to buy my business.
No way.
And let me stay on for 3 years under a contract. And I sold my business in 2003. And here's what I looked at. This was during the housing boom. I mean, we were selling houses.
Yeah.
We were selling as quickly as we could build them. And many of my friends in the industry had been offered by big companies to buy their businesses, and they all turned it down because they were making money.
Yeah.
And I sat down. I'd only owned this company for 3 years, and I asked myself one question: how many years do we have left in this market?
Right.
Because I think I need to own this another 7 to 10 years before I feel comfortable with building up enough economy that I could walk away. I could turn it over to my kids, walk away, so whatever it was. Do I think this home building economy has 7 years left?
Right.
And I'm in 2003.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought
Did
that.
you already, is it because you were noticing the markets previously?
Well, what I had noticed was that at that time, the Phoenix housing market had been on the longest protracted boom in history.
Okay.
It had a few little dips, but it was usually, the boom bust had not happened in years.
Yeah.
It was 5-6 years into a boom. And the Phoenix housing market had never gone beyond 6-7 years before there was like a real correction.
Yeah.
We were 5 years into an upward swing, and I just said, I don't think it does. So I sold. One reason I sold was they asked me to stay on for at least 3 years.
Okay.
It took me into right at the beginning of 2007. I left that company in the beginning of 2007, and the Great Recession started literally that summer. The housing market died at the end of that summer. So I was either incredibly brilliant or just dumb luck. I think it was more dumb luck than anything. All my friends who did not sell and who said, you're an idiot, they went through the horrible timing, and most of them ended up having to go bankrupt and things like that. They've all recovered since then. They went through that horrible experience, and luckily I did. And that's when I ran for mayor the first time. And I ran for mayor because as a home builder, I had had horrible experiences with cities, especially, unfortunately, the city of Mesa.
Yeah.
Very difficult in the application, zoning, and all the process of running a business. And I, like a lot of people get into politics, I was somewhat angry. I was ticked off.
Yeah.
And I kept complaining to a neighbor friend of ours, and she was involved in political consulting, and she goes, I'm tired of hearing of your complaints.
Go do something.
You've sold your company, you've left it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, put up or shut up.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Run for office. There's an open seat, mayor. Run for it. Even though my father had been superintendent of schools in Mesa, and I was very connected with civic, I had never ever thought of actually getting into politics.
Yeah.
And she convinced me to run, and I ran and won. And the 6 years I was mayor was an incredible experience.
That was a hard time, though.
It was a very hard time. 3-4 weeks after I came into office in June of 2008, we already were in the first, the first part, the housing bust had started. But the overall economy had not really fallen off. It was more localized in the housing real estate business, the mortgage crisis. But I'll never forget, I took office in June of 2008. July sometime, our city CFO came in and said, Mayor, our sales tax revenues have literally fallen off a cliff. We're looking at a $65 million revenue shortfall on a $300 million budget.
Yeah.
20+%. And great. Mike Tyson the boxer, famously said, everybody has a plan until they step in the ring and get punched in the nose the first time. Then all the plans I had a long list of things I was going to accomplish, and this just was the punch in the nose. But it was a great punch because it forced the city to get better. We decided at that time, and this is my business experience, that instead of just surviving this recession, and most people realize that recessions don't last forever.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 years, which is still a long time. But we're not only going to survive, we're going to thrive. We're going to do things that when we come out of this recession, we're going to be running.
Yeah.
And we're going to be streaking. While other cities literally dinked around for 2, 3 years in denial, we ripped the Band-Aid off, and it was painful. It's horrible laying off almost 15% of your workforce. It's horrible freezing pay and eliminating programs and doing the things you have to cover a revenue shortfall like that. But what we did is we said, okay, we're not just going to cut, we're going to innovate.
Okay.
And in 2010, and our programs started to get noticed, and we gave our staff the free rein to do things different. You have to do things different, and they did.
Change.
They stepped up, and they did wonderful stuff. In 2010, the Arizona Republic named Mesa the most innovative city in Arizona. And when we started coming out of the Great Recession in 2011 and 12, also the opportunities started coming our way, and great things started happening. And I like to believe that we laid the foundation for the successes over the next 10 years. And what I want to do now, and running the second time, is take that upward slope and to take it to the next level. Because the work is far from being done.
Right.
We talked about downtown. A lot of work yet to be done.
Yeah.
A lot of things that we haven't finished. It's fun to take something that you had a role in establishing.
And you're seeing how
someone after you, Mayor Giles and the council and the staff took it to the next level, and to look at that and say, okay, now let's take it. Let's keep going. Yeah. That's what I'm anxious about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm excited about.
Is that what kind of convinced you this time to kind of, okay, I want to be a part of it still?
That was a lot of
almost
it.
to like finish it?
Yeah, that was a lot of it. People started asking me a long time ago, and I just said, no, I have no interest in being a politician. And then they pointed out to me the opportunities. But unfortunately, they also started telling me the same stories that I had experienced back in 2006 and 7 when I was a home builder.
Okay.
How things that we had changed and cultures that we had built had digressed. And there's a lot of issues right now in the city of Mesa and their zoning and their application process. A lot of red tape is returned.
Yeah.
We put in facilitate, don't regulate, which was the service providers.
Right.
Help people succeed as opposed to telling them no.
Right.
That, I had heard story after story about how that had gone down. And then the city itself, they wondered, why isn't there more high-end development for retail and food out in the Gateway area? Eastmark has grown up, although there's beautiful housing subdivisions, but the restaurants there have not followed. That seemed weird.
Yeah.
So the city commissioned a study by a consultant, and this consultant came right out and said, developers are shying away from Mesa because of problems with plan and zoning, applications, inconsistency. The red tape is chasing them into other cities.
Yeah.
And so if you have a city, you have Mesa, and they say, well, yeah, we're good to develop here. And they say, no, you're a pain in the neck. Oh, but Queen Creek next door in Gilbert is saying, open arms, come to us. We'll make it easy. They'll go to Queen Creek. And they have.
Yeah.
They have. You look at the growth around the Queen Creek Marketplace down in Queen Creek, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's huge.
And a lot of that should have and could have and would have gone to Eastmark area had the Gateway area had, I believe, the city been more ahead of things, and if they hadn't digressed. So part of the reason what got me, pushed me over the line was the opportunity, but also I believe there's things that need to be fixed.
Yeah.
We need to restore what we were doing.
The process. The
process. We need to streamline. We need to go back to the basics and eliminate red tape and be more friendly.
Yeah.
And it pains me when I hear people who tell me, I used to develop in Mesa, I used to invest in it, I won't go there now.
Yeah.
I'll go other places.
Right.
It's easier in other places.
Right.
That kills you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of things that push me over the edge to run this.
How do you though, what's the first step? How do you streamline that? Or is it literally from that first contact, that position, that person that's gonna say, sorry, can't help you?
Well, you sit down and talk to them. You sit down and ask, you say, why are people saying this?
Yeah.
You want to know whether the staff is even aware that they have problems. Because a lot of times they think they're doing things right.
Right.
My opponent will tell you, oh, I've talked to staff. There's no problems. Then you talk to investors and developers and they say, no, there's huge problems. So there's definitely a disconnect. So the first thing I'm going to do when I get in is I've been gone for a decade.
Yes.
It's not the same organization.
You've been gone, but...
I've been here, but I've been out of city government.
Yes.
But you know, there's different people, there's different, it's different conditions. We're not the same city we were
right
10 years ago. And so the first thing I want to do is to sit down and have a conversation with our citizens. Okay, what do you think?
Yeah.
Are you aware of this?
What are the pain points?
Do you see this? You know, and if they see it, they're working on it, help them succeed. If they don't see it, then okay, let's have a conversation of what we're doing. Let's listen to our customers.
I was going to say, can you bring in more? That's kind of what attracted me, was the city started inviting me to these tables.
Yes.
Of like, what are you seeing as a realtor in the market?
And what they need to do now is, it's great that they're listening. They need to put that into action. They need to be humble enough to say, we got to improve.
Right.
You know, this isn't a critical, beat you down type of problem. I've never been involved. You know, if you've run a business, you get nowhere from beating people down.
Right.
That's not my style. That's not successful. And the first time we came in, I said, listen, I'm not here to tell you you're bad.
Yeah.
Because we have amazing city staff.
Yeah.
Good people. But a lot of times they need direction. They need cover.
Yeah.
And they need someone to just to point out that, hey, we can get better, and I'm here to help you get better.
Right. Yeah.
And that just means sitting down and listening to people.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to them. They're listening to you. Okay, let's have the humility to recognize that we can be better and fix what we need to fix.
Yeah.
And what I told city staff before, and what I'll tell them again, is, you know what? I know it's easy to regulate. Government is really good at that. But you will find that your life, your job, your satisfaction will be so much greater when you watch somebody you've helped succeed. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no feeling like that, to see somebody who overcame problems and obstacles and they made it work, and you were part of that.
Yeah.
I said, we can be part of that as a city.
Yeah.
We can't force the market, we can't define the market, but we can help people succeed in the market by basically setting the stage and getting out of the way, and helping them to comply with the good rules we have and fixing the bad rules we have. Right. It's that simple.
Yeah. Some change. But you got to get people to be, I guess the word is humble enough to recognize that they need to change, but not humble in a, oh God, I'm a loser. No, humble in the way that I need to change and I'm going to be better off when I change, because I'm going to be able to enjoy it. And that's what you experience. Right. Yeah. I like that. I am all on board for change.
Well, I love that you're
I'm just a freak of Mesa that's just like, I want to see it succeed, and I see the potential, and I want to be involved. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some fun questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite restaurant in Mesa?
I have a lot of favorite restaurants, but I have to admit, my wife and I, our go-to restaurant is Blue Adobe.
So I still haven't been.
Oh my gosh, you need to go.
Every time I go, they're closed.
And there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, I hate saying that because that means I think that no. It's sort of like 1A.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm thinking about my wife and I as a couple. And that's our
your go-to place.
Right here in downtown, Country Club and First Street. It's in an old Village Inn Pizza. When I was in high school, that was a Village Inn Pizza parlor.
That's so funny.
But they serve a unique kind of New Mexican style Mexican food that I just find it great.
Maybe that's where we'll have dinner tonight.
Then there's I can name 3 or 4 restaurants just here in downtown.
Yeah, do it.
Oh, Tacos Chivas, Gus's, Worth Takeaway, Mangoes. I mean, they're all just I could. Yeah. You're not gonna go wrong. I'm not gonna go wrong.
It's seriously the best Mexican too. Like, I just came from Rocky Point and I was like, I can't wait to get home. Like, I was so disappointed. But I'm like, I've been spoiled.
They're just good, fun places. I like them because they're good and they're fun. Nunca Porns, the Thai food. A lot of stuff in downtown. And those are my unique Mesa go-to type places.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have anything that you do as like a business owner, entrepreneur, every day, routine-wise to like, because it's stressful. I can't believe you're doing it again, running. But like, do you have something that you do routinely, like to keep your head straight, to be able to manage all the stress?
I read a lot. I read the news.
Okay.
It can be depressing, but I read a lot of different sources. I start each day. I still like my
news,
paper.
First thing.
Yeah, I mean, I pick up the Wall Street Journal, and I don't look at the market things. I look at all the interest stories and the editorial page. I get news read articles from a lot of different sources. The Republic, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Deseret News, the Denver papers, LA Times. Okay. magazines like The Atlantic. And
Do you have the actual
Dispatch.
paper newspaper too still?
I get, you know, I get the Wall Street Journal delivered up to my driveway.
Okay.
Everything
Okay.
else is on my iPad or
That's
on
amazing.
But I like to read a lot. I like to read great writers.
Okay.
Columnists. I really like to read columnists. I don't agree with all of them.
Yeah.
But I just, people who can take words
Yeah.
and just make them sing, just impresses me.
I like that.
So I do that every day.
Okay.
Because, and I learn stuff. I am just
You're curious.
incredibly curious. I'm the type of guy that driving down the highway and they say historical marker, I will pull off the side and look at it just because I want to know what happened there.
Is that where
Drives my-
Brandon gets it from?
Probably so.
So I know your son Brandon, we grew up together, right? And I see his stories lately. He is like on a travel bug
Yeah.
and his pictures. I use him for my real estate, taking pictures.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So
He's very creative. The thing about Brandon that I love is that, I mean, I've lived here my whole life and he's going to places I've never heard of.
I know. I'm like,
You
can
know,
I
hikes
picture
and
you?
waterfalls, and I go, where was this? He goes, oh, it's up by Sedona, but it's like a 5-mile hike. I go, I've never heard of this place.
I know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
His videos are
Yeah.
amazing. I love
So
it.
I'm curious, and I love to travel, but I love to read and to just read different perspectives, because I think that no matter what business you're in, if you're well-rounded and if you're always curious.
Yes.
it's
Wanting to
always
learn,
curious.
right?
Wanting to learn, wanting
Yeah.
to understand things. You'll find yourself learning things and being exposed to things that you never imagined. And that's how you grow.
Well, it sounds like that's kind of how your career path happened. You just, things slid in there because you just said yes.
My career has been, I tell you, it's a happy accident. I never had a grand plan.
Yeah.
Even majoring in accounting, I never wanted to be an accountant.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a good background to do other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up being a CPA, working for Price Waterhouse, but it has served me so well. And then even the law degree.
Yeah.
The great thing about having to work full time is that, you know, in law school, your first year, basically you have to take their classes at their time.
Right.
Second year, half your classes. Then you can start taking electives and you get more freedom.
Right.
Well, I was working, so I started taking electives that either were off the beaten path. And the reason for that is that they were taught by adjunct professors. You know, people who were working full time. They came and would teach one class. So the classes started at 7 in the morning or 7 at night. So I could go to the class early on,
Okay.
leave, go work, and then come back and go to the class at night. And that's, well, you know, the kind of classes they offered were just weird: Indian law, water law,
Yeah.
franchising law,
Water law is big.
patent law. You know, things that I had I said, I'm never going to work in Indian law.
Right.
All right. So
Yeah.
I took 2 Indian law classes because they were taught by Indian law experts who were not on the faculty. Well, when I became mayor, of course, we have a lot of dealings with the Indian communities.
Right.
We border Salt River Pima. We have a huge water deal with Gila River. We did a huge water deal with White Mountain Apache. And all of a sudden, I'm in there with the attorneys, and they start trying to explain. I go, no, I understand exactly what you're talking about. How do you know
amazing.
that? I took 2 Indian law classes. It's a different mindset,
Yeah.
but I could participate in the conversations because
Right.
here I had picked up this really good background and
I love that.
understood the dynamics of what we had to do to deal legally with these sovereign nation Indian
Yeah.
communities,
Smart.
which is a totally different way of thinking of law. So stuff like that I've really benefited from.
Yeah.
And I've always ended up in places by accident. Running for mayor, I just happened to sell my company right at the time there was an opening for me. I happened to have a friend
Yeah.
who badgered me into
But
running.
does anything really happen by accident?
I've heard, was it serendipitous or was it meant to be or whatever? I think as I look at what I've done to prepare, and my knowledge has certainly directed me and guided me into
Yeah.
certain opportunities.
Put you in those doors or
For example,
near places.
after I left being mayor, I had the opportunity of going back to Harvard on a teaching fellowship where I taught for a semester, mostly at the Kennedy School of Government. Loved that semester, dealing with students who were interested in government. I taught a seminar on city government.
Yeah.
Came back, and at the time, Valley Metro, unfortunately, was going through a scandal. The CEO was caught basically embezzling money,
Oh my gosh.
And they left, and as I'm driving back, I get a call from one of my fellow former mayor, who was a mayor, Mayor Jim Daniels of Gilbert, and she said, Scott, are you headed back from Harvard? I go, yeah, I'm driving right now. She goes, I don't know if you've been following what's going on at Valley Metro. I go, yeah, I have, unfortunately. She goes, well, we need somebody to settle things down. And with your background, being a CEO, your background in law and accounting and everything, would you be interested in being the interim CEO for 9 months while we do a nationwide search for a new CEO? And I said, no. And the person I was driving with says, no, don't tell him no. So I said, well, Jen, let me talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we went that night. He says, no, you need to do that. You are perfectly prepared. I'm not a transit CEO.
Yeah.
But you know transit from your time as mayor.
Yeah.
You certainly know light rail because we planned, even though we didn't approve it, it was already funded. We planned and started the construction on the light rail through downtown Mesa. And he said, it'd be a good way to reintroduce yourself and you could use all your talents. He convinced me. So I talked to Mayor Daniels the next day. I said, yeah, I'll do it. But 6 to 9 months, that's it. Okay. I want to get on with life.
Right.
I didn't have a formal job, but I had an arrangement to go into consulting when I got back. And I called the person and said, listen, I'm going to have to defer that for 6 to 9 months. Well, that 6 to 9 month gig where I used all of my legal skills, most of my accounting skills, and I learned how transit works. And I had experts doing that, but this was really more of a leadership challenge with certain real legal and financial and other challenges and political challenges that I found I was perfectly suited for, because we had to get this public agency through a crisis.
Yes.
End of 9 months, they said, we can't find anyone that we're happy with. Would you extend a year? And then it was extended another year. Before I knew it, I was there for 6 years.
That's crazy.
Loved it. I had a wonderful time. We did a lot of good things. And now, as I'm running, I understand. And there's real issues with light rail, security and other issues. Pandemic totally changed public transportation. Well, I know the system. I know how to run it. I know where the things are. Is that an accident? Yeah, but no.
Right.
I mean, I'm back in the arena where I can have a real impact as a policymaker, as opposed to a bureaucrat who's running the system.
Right.
I can now help set policy if I win.
Yeah.
And that's my career. I've always found myself in places where the things I had done and what I had learned prepared me for that.
Planting
accident.
those seeds.
Yeah. And I tell people that. I go, listen, I went back and got an MBA when I had been out of school about 10 years. This is before law school. And I tell people that listen, since I got my MBA in 1985 or 86, I've had 6 careers, not jobs, 6 different careers. Consulting, home building, politics, transit, real estate. I mean, completely different, but all intertwined with the knowledge base that I developed in each one of them. So I tell you, that's what you should look for. You have no idea what you're going to be doing in 5 years, 10 years.
Right.
I don't care what you're doing now. You literally have no, I didn't, but every place I landed, I found it exciting and invigorating, and I learned something new. And that's why
I love that.
Coming back is a little interesting for me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've never redone something in my career.
Yeah.
But then I realized it's a different world than it was when I was mayor. It's a different political world. Mesa's in a different place.
It'll be a whole new experience.
Yeah, that excites me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you have all of that. Okay, so we're going to wrap up with what would be your final advice for a lot of entrepreneurs and business people listening? What would your advice be that you've learned through all those careers? A final thought for someone that, do they need for me, it's like, when do you know when to take the leap for the next step and different things like that?
You never will.
I know.
The hardest thing.
Do you have a gut feeling? No,
you're scared.
Yeah,
scared. That's what makes you successful.
Do it scared.
The biggest, I was at Pricewaterhouse, a big firm, and I went to another firm, getting that payroll, that paycheck every 2 weeks. There's comfort and there's safety in that, and there's security in that. And I got with a friend of mine who had worked with me at Pricewaterhouse. He was a pure entrepreneur. And he said, let's start a consulting firm, a unique consulting firm. We took the lead, had no clients, had nothing. And that was actually easy because I was adventurous. And I wanted something. The hardest decision I ever made in business was hiring that first employee.
That's what's...
And the reason being is that when I'm on my own, I can
Right.
I can fail on my own,
Right.
and I can
But when
recover.
you're in charge of someone else.
Now I'm in charge of their life and their livelihood, and now I
Mm-hmm.
feel real responsibility.
Yes.
And that was the hardest, but I did it. And I did it because at that moment, and I look back now and I go, how could that be that hard? Well, that time was a huge decision.
Yeah.
Because I could fail for myself. I did not want to fail for them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, how horrible would it be to say, we're out of business and you're out of a job?
Right.
I couldn't live with that.
Right.
When I took over the home building company, we had 13 employees. I remember right before I left, we had a Christmas deal literally at a restaurant on a table. 13 people. Well, 25 with spouses and significant others. We had like 20 people there. So we were in like a little banquet.
Okay.
My last one, we had 350 employees and we had 700 at our Christmas dinner.
Holy.
And I looked over there and I had deja vu because I thought, holy crud, I am responsible. And I'd look at the spouses especially and I'd say, I feel responsible for them and their lives and their mortgages and everything. And that's the second thing I would say. Be grateful for opportunities.
Okay.
Always be grateful for those who brought you there, for the opportunities you have. Never feel like you did it on your own, because you never do. There's always somebody or someplace or something to help you. And as long as you're grateful, you will always be willing to give back. You'll always have that feeling.
Right.
And that leads to a humility. And humility is incredibly important because you have to understand that there are powers and forces out there that are bigger than you. If you're an entrepreneur, the marketplace. Always respect the marketplace. Don't ever get too cocky or too comfortable, because the marketplace will come in and slap you into reality.
Change.
And as long as you're hungry and you're grateful and you're humble, you can thrive.
Okay.
And then of course what we talked about before is always that search and that desire for knowledge.
Yeah,
Learn
curiosity.
Curiosity. If you put those together, you can conquer anything. You really can. Whether
love
you're
that.
at a job and just want to be a career person, whether you're an entrepreneur and want to start your own business, whether you're a family in your family, those things are what has really served me. I haven't always done them well.
Yeah.
We're human,
you
but
tried.
I've really tried to do that.
I love that. I love that you did everything scared.
Being scared is healthy.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm interviewing you on a podcast right now. This was a little scary for me. I want to thank you so much for
Thanks
doing
for having
this.
me.
Take the time. Good luck on
Thank you.
all the things with the campaign trail, and I look forward to see what's going to come to your future.
So do I. And the great thing is I'm at an age in my life where whatever happens, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think so too. It's amazing. I love hearing the whole story, and I'm going to look forward
Thanks
to
for
watching.
having me on.
Thank
Really
you so
appreciate it.
much.